He was my peace in this crazy world, a funny, gentle, slightly lazy man, with whom I imagined growing old and having dogs on the porch. And then, in just a few weeks, he turned into someone else. A gym fanatic with a new body, new habits, and a new smell. It seemed like he had simply decided to work on himself. But what I learned next ruined everything, and at the same time gave me the sweetest revenge of my life. I'm Victoria, 31, female, and if you had asked me 2 months ago what my life looked like, I would have painted you a movie-perfect postcard. A corner office with plants that didn't die, a Saturday morning ritual of pancakes and indie vinyl, and a marriage that felt like a rom-com with slightly better lighting. Aaron, 33, male, was my laugh track, goofy, easy, the kind of man who could disarm a room with a bad joke and a soft beer foam mustache. We met at a rooftop party he accidentally crashed because he thought it was open invite. He spilled a red drink on my new dress and then, with napkin and apology in hand, made me laugh until I forgot the stain. I thought, this is it. This is the guy. Aaron's family is small and messy in the way that feels like home. His mom, Gail, 58, female, is a retired school librarian who knits judgment into scarves and calls every Sunday at 11. His brother, Marcus, 29, male, still lives in their old college town but pops over for Sunday barbecues wearing the same high school hoodie he never outgrew. They fit into my life like puzzle pieces I hadn't realized I needed. I love them for dragging him out of his comfort zone. For the first year, he was a soft, beer-loving couch potato who thought kale was a name of a band. My job, community engagement at a nonprofit, is the kind of work that makes you feel small and large at once. It pays less than corporate, but feeds a part of me that otherwise would have starved. Our home matched that life. Exposed brick, too many plants, a thrifted velvet couch that had seen more movie nights than weddings. We argued about paint colors like couples do, negotiated furniture like peace treaties. There were cracks, sure, like the time Aaron forgot our anniversary because he was busy at the game, and the time I left my phone unlocked and read something I shouldn't have, but nothing that felt terminal. We made jokes about our stubbornness. We made lists for vacations that never happened. We were partners. Then, in the kind of quiet that's actually a slowly building storm, Aaron started changing. At first it was small, almost laughable. He downloaded a workout app and sent me a triumphant selfie of him holding a dumbbell like a conquering peasant king. I teased him. Since when do you care about dumbbells? Hi, Iggy.
Hey guys, real quick before we keep going, don't forget to sub and drop a like if you're enjoying the story. Thank you very much. Enjoy watching.
And he laughed it off. But the laughter thinned. A week later, he was on the treadmill at 6 a.m., which felt like someone had replaced my roommate with a stranger who owned a foam roller. It wasn't the gym routine that scared me. People change. What scared me was the speed of it, like watching a slow-growing vine suddenly snap and pull the trellis down. His old college tees, the ones with the faded logo he swore were vintage, disappeared overnight. In their place, sleek, expensive athletic wear that smelled faintly of something I couldn't place at first. New cologne, sharp and clinical. He started talking about macros and protein, like he'd been fluent in the language for years. He'd leave the house at odd hours, kiss my forehead like routine, and go. His phone started to live face down on the counter. When I asked, he smiled, deflected, and said, "Babe, it's just a phase. I'm trying something new." Sometimes I reread those texts in my head, the ones that were small and ordinary, and suddenly felt like lies. "Love you. See you tonight. Busy, babe. Don't wait up." The house felt the way my grandma's old piano bench had felt when a nail came loose. Deceptively sturdy until you sat down. I kept waiting for the old Aaron to pop back in, for the recliner king to return with a six-pack and a corny joke. Instead, the silence stretched, and I found myself listening for footsteps that didn't belong to him anymore. The real unraveling started one Thursday night in March, one of those evenings that smells like rain, but never delivers it. Aaron said he was heading to the gym after work, nothing unusual by that point. He'd been training intensely, his word, not mine. I remember standing in the kitchen, watching his back as he left, that new, too-tight athletic shirt clinging to him, and thinking how foreign he looked in our doorway. He used to come home smelling like grease and beer after watching a game with Marcus, his brother. Now he smelled like eucalyptus and ambition. When he came back that night, I noticed the faintest smear of pink lip gloss near his jawline. I almost gaslit myself into thinking it was from a smoothie or something stupid like that, but I knew, my body knew before my brain would let it. The next few days were like walking through fog. He started leaving earlier, coming home later. His eyes darted when I asked about dinner plans. The man who used to send me TikToks of dogs in pajamas now barely looked up from his phone. His lock screen changed. It used to be a photo of us at the beach in Santa Barbara, windblown and grinning. Now it was just blank, a default background. When I asked why, he said he needed a clean slate. The distance between us was a living thing. At night, I'd lie next to him, staring at the ceiling. Fan spin slow circles, and count the seconds between his breaths. It felt like waiting for a bomb that might never go off. Then the purchases started. I saw charges from a high-end sports store. Hundreds of dollars on supplements, shoes, some new smart gym watch. He was suddenly obsessed with his reflection, flexing abs in the bathroom mirror, asking me if he looked leaner. I said yes, even though what I really saw was someone evaporating in front of me. One Saturday morning, I followed him, not because I planned to, but because something inside me couldn't stand another lie. I told him I was meeting a friend for brunch, then waited 10 minutes and drove after him. My hands were shaking so hard, I had to pull over once. I parked outside the gym and waited. He went inside, gym bag slung over his shoulder, all swagger and confidence. 30 minutes passed. Then I saw her. Monica. Tall, blonde, flawless. The kind of woman you'd assume had a personal photographer. She walked out of the gym with him, laughing, playfully shoving his shoulder. And then, the kiss. Quick, practiced, not hesitant. Like it wasn't their first. I sat in the car and felt everything drain out of me. No tears, just a hollow ache so big it echoed. That night, while he showered, I took his phone. My hands were trembling so badly I almost dropped it. The texts were there, intimate, casual, like a language they shared now. You pushed me too hard today. You love it. Same time tomorrow, babe? I couldn't read more. My vision blurred. I just set the phone back, crawled into bed, and stared at the ceiling until morning. But by sunrise, something inside me shifted. I wasn't going to cry in the dark anymore. If he wanted a performance, I'd give him one. Only this time, I'd be the one writing the script. I didn't confront him right away. I wanted to, God, did I want to scream. To throw his shiny gym bag out the window and watch it burst open on the pavement like some stupid piñata of betrayal. But something in me, maybe the part that had sat through too many therapy sessions about emotional control, whispered, not yet. So instead, I played normal. I smiled, asked about his workouts, made him dinner, and while he flexed in the kitchen mirror like a teenager discovering biceps for the first time, I planned. The next day, I signed up at his gym. When the receptionist, a too cheerful guy named Cody, asked if I wanted a personal trainer, I said, yeah. I heard Monica's the best. The look on Cody's face was priceless. Oh, Monica's in high demand, but I can check her schedule. I smiled sweetly. Tell her Victoria, Aaron's wife, would love to train with her. Petty? Maybe. But I wanted to see her up close. I wanted to see what he traded me for. When I first met Monica in person, she was even more picture perfect than I'd expected. Glossy hair, sculpted arms, skin that looked airbrushed in real life. She greeted me with that professional friendliness that only just hides disdain. So, you're Aaron's wife, she said, stretching out the word wife like it was a dare. Still am, I said, smiling right back. He mentioned you're a great trainer. That first session was torture. Not physically, emotionally. She kept mentioning Aaron casually, like he was just another client. Aaron really improved on this one, she'd say. Or, Aaron always struggled with form here. I nodded, bit my tongue, and lifted heavier. Every rep was an act of war. By the third session, I had her talking. Trainers love to talk. It makes clients feel like the silence means progress. She told me about her favorite clients, how one of them just got so dedicated it was inspiring. I didn't even need to ask who. Over the next few weeks, I got closer to her. We'd grab smoothies after workouts. She'd show me videos of her dog. Once she even joked, if Aaron weren't married, and then trailed off, laughing. I laughed too. It wasn't funny, but I needed her to think it was. All the while, I collected pieces. Screenshots from his phone when he left it unattended, copies of text logs, photos of them together that she'd carelessly posted on her private story, the one she assumed I'd never see. Turns out Monica had a weakness for attention, and I had a fake Instagram account that followed her. Aaron started to notice me again after a few weeks. He'd say things like, "You've been looking great lately," or you go, "Did you get new leggings?" I wanted to laugh in his face. I was rebuilding myself. With his mistress's workout plans, every squat, every curl, every sprint was powered by rage. And when Monica invited me to a trainer-client social at a local lounge, a mixer for gym members, I knew the universe was handing me the perfect stage because I wasn't done collecting evidence. I was building the story I'd use to destroy him. But to do it right, I needed to let the two of them think I was still blind. And that meant smiling through dinners, pretending not to notice late nights, pretending not to see the glittery text tone that lit up his phone after midnight. Aaron thought I was oblivious. Monica thought I was harmless. They were both about to learn that I was neither. The gym mixer felt like walking into a war zone wearing a white dress. Not literally. I wore the black leggings Monica recommended, the ones that made my butt look like I'd been bench pressing compliments for months, but my hands were shaking like I'd been holding ice. The lounge was loud and glossy, a cluster of people who lived on protein pancakes and hustle porn. Monica moved through them like she owned the lighting. She introduced me as Aaron's wife, with that same clipped curiosity she used before, and I smiled wide enough to work like armor. It was performance art. I laughed at her jokes. I complimented her form. I let her think she'd won me over because she liked to win. Except I wasn't there to win her. I was there to finish what I'd started, collect the receipts, widen the trail. I'd already scraped and saved everything I could from her sloppy little digital life. Private story posts, snaps she thought were ephemeral, pictures of them pressed together at a grocery store deli. Tonight I wanted to see how she behaved when she thought she was unbothered. She let her guard drop faster than I'd expected. At one point, she put her head on my shoulder, confiding about a client who didn't show up and how frustrating it was when people quit. I nodded and stroked the back of her hand like the calm lake before a storm. She laughed, kissed my cheek, casual, practiced, and walked away. I followed her to the patio. Monica lit a cigarette like a movie cliche, and I pretended to admire her lighter. She talked about the gym's expansion, her plans to open her own studio, how important her reputation was. She didn't know I'd already undermined it. Earlier that afternoon, I'd created a small social media explosion, using the evidence I'd collected. A throwaway account, the screenshots from Aaron's phone, the private snaps from Monica's story, and a few carefully cropped photos, showing them close where they shouldn't be, laid out like a slideshow of their lies. I sent it to a handful of people who mattered. Marcus, who still idolized Aaron. Gail, who had a temper you didn't want to prod. A few mutual friends, who loved drama and would spread it. I didn't tag Aaron. I didn't need to. I watched my phone like a hawk as the group chat lit up. By the time I stepped back into our living room that night, the house smelled like the lemon cleaner Aaron used when he tried to convince himself everything was fine. The group chat was a furnace of texts. What the hell? Is this true? Aaron, call me. And then his name. Not a text, but the sound of the front door slamming so hard a framed wedding photo fell and shattered across the hardwood. He stormed in like a storm with limbs, eyes bloodshot, jaw clenched, the new cologne a cloud around him. He saw the phone on the coffee table and the crumbs of glass and immediately blamed me. Accusations poured out. Hot, slurred, violent. You did this, he shouted, grabbing the TV remote and hurling it against the wall. The remote smashed, the drywall dented. He shoved a bookshelf. Paperback novels rained like dead confetti. He shoved me once, not hard enough to leave a mark, but enough to steal my breath. And his face twisted in a way I'd never seen. A mixture of shame, fury, and the raw, animal panic of a man losing control. Gail arrived 10 minutes later, breathless and furious, having driven over from her house. Marcus followed, red-faced and muttering. Our living room turned into a courtroom and a battlefield. Aaron tried to weaponize our history, listing favors, calling me irrational. And then he went smaller and meaner, picking at things he thought would hurt. My job, my friends, the volunteer hours that fed me. He screamed that I'd humiliated him, that I'd ruined his career prospects. I did something I rarely do in public. I laughed. Not the polite laugh we used to give bad rom-com beats, but a short, sharp bark of fury. You started this, I said, voice low enough to be dangerous. You made choices, you lied. My hands were steady. The house around us trembled with the aftermath of his rage, and for the first time I felt less like a woman waiting for an implosion, and more like the person who'd lit the fuse. That night he slept on the couch, sullen and pacing. The next morning, the neighbors had seen enough to call and gossip. Monica's phone started ringing with angry messages from people who'd seen the post. I'd meant to make an entrance. I hadn't expected the dominoes to fall this fast, but they had, and their fall echoed through my life in a way I'd been avoiding. Update, Inhas. Because some of y'all asked, and because the timeline matters. Yes, I posted the evidence anonymously at first. No, I didn't go scorched earth without thinking. I cataloged everything for months. A handful of you said I should have called the cops first, understandable. Others told me to set it on fire. Tempting, not legal. Standout comment that stuck. Good. Make discomfort your loyalty. That line became my mantra while everyone else screamed. I've had DMs ranging from, you're a psycho, to, I'd do the same. And honestly, both made me feel less alone. Some of y'all sent hilarious gifs of dramatic exits that I saved for nights like these. I'm not done. But after that night, the war stopped being just about catching them. It became about making sure he remembered the cost. The next few days felt like living inside a fallout zone. Gail stopped calling. When she finally did, her voice was tight, brittle. Victoria, honey, I don't know what's going on between you and Aaron, but airing things online isn't helping anyone. I almost laughed at that. Of course, she was more worried about public perception than the fact that her son had been cheating on his wife with his personal trainer. Marcus texted once, You okay? He's not right in the head lately. That part, at least, was true. Aaron, meanwhile, was unraveling. He moved through the house like a ghost with anger issues. Every time his phone buzzed, he flinched. Monica had gone radio silent, and I could tell it was killing him. I knew from one of her Instagram posts. She'd made her account private but hadn't realized, I still followed with my decoy profile, that the gym had suspended her pending an internal review. So now my husband's mistress was unemployed, his reputation was on fire, and our home had turned into a pressure cooker of resentment and silence. Poetic, really. I didn't gloat, not out loud, but I did let him stew in it. I cooked dinner, cleaned, worked, all the mundane things that make silence louder. When he finally cracked, it was on a Wednesday night. He slammed his fist on the table and shouted, You ruined my life, Victoria. No, Aaron, I said quietly. You ruined ours. I just turned the lights on. That made him snap. He swept his plate off the table, shards of ceramic skittering across the floor. Then he crumbled, just collapsed into the chair, hands covering his face. I stood there, heart pounding, watching him finally drown in the mess he'd made. For a second, I almost pitied him. Almost. The next morning, I took the day off work. I went to see a lawyer, something I'd been putting off until now. Divorce wasn't just revenge anymore. It was a way out of the burning building. I had screenshots, messages, timestamps, bank statements, showing gifts he'd bought for Monica. The lawyer, a calm woman named Trish, listened, took notes, and finally said, "You have leverage, lots of it. We'll make sure he walks away with nothing he didn't earn." That night, I played my last card. I texted Monica from my real account. "Hey, can we talk?" I think we both had enough of Aaron. I didn't expect her to respond, but she did, within 5 minutes. She said she'd meet me for coffee. When she walked in, she looked smaller, less invincible. The confidence was gone. She sat down, hands trembling slightly. "I didn't know he was," she started. I cut her off. "Save it. You knew. You just didn't care." Tears welled up in her eyes, and part of me wanted to feel satisfaction, but what I felt instead was something cleaner. Closure. "He used us both," I said. "The only difference is I woke up sooner." She nodded slowly, whispered something that sounded like, "I'm sorry." I left before she could finish. When I got home, Aaron was there, pacing. He looked at me like he didn't recognize me. "You met with her?" he asked. "I did," I said. "And I told her everything she needed to hear." He laughed. Not a happy laugh, but the bitter kind. "You really are something else." "Yeah," I said, walking past him. "Something you'll never have again." That night, I packed his things. Every gym shirt, every protein shaker, every reminder of the man who had replaced the one I married. I left them neatly folded by the door with a note. "You can pick them up tomorrow. After that, they'll be gone. Like us." And as I went to bed alone for the first time in years, the silence finally felt peaceful. Not empty. Free. Aaron didn't take the note well. The next morning, I woke up to banging. Not polite knocking, but furious. Bone-rattling pounding on the front door. He was outside, eyes wild, still in last night's clothes. I opened the door just enough to speak through the crack. "You need to calm down," I said. "Calm down?" His voice was cracked, desperate. "You humiliated me, Victoria. Everyone knows. My mom won't talk to me. Marcus thinks I'm a monster. And Monica, He stopped mid-sentence, running a hand through his hair. "She's done with me. She's gone." "Sounds like you finally got some quiet to work with," I said, and closed the door before he could answer. He didn't leave. He shouted outside for 15 minutes, alternating between begging and threats. The neighbors peeked through blinds, and I just stood inside, holding my coffee cup steady. When he finally left, he peeled out of the driveway so fast his gym bag tumbled from the trunk and spilled across the street. Dumbbells, supplements, and a shaker bottle rolled into the gutter like props from a bad movie. By that afternoon, I had a restraining order filed. Trish, my lawyer, was quick and efficient. "He's emotionally volatile," she said. "Let's get ahead of this before it turns ugly." Too late for that, I thought. It already was ugly. But the truth? I was done being scared of him. Done walking on eggshells. Done pretending that silence meant peace. So, I made a decision. If Aaron wanted to keep acting like the victim, I'd let the truth echo even louder. That weekend, my nonprofit hosted a community gala. A fundraiser I'd been planning for months. Normally, Aaron would have been there playing the charming husband role, holding my hand, and telling donors how proud he was. This time I went alone. New dress, steady smile, spine made of steel. Halfway through the event, I saw him. He'd shown up uninvited, clean-shaven, wearing that same cologne I used to love. He was standing near the bar, eyes on me. A few coworkers noticed, whispering. I kept smiling. Then, when the microphone passed to me for the closing remarks, I felt something inside me click. "I want to thank everyone here tonight," I began, steady voice echoing through the hall. "This organization is about rebuilding, about learning that sometimes what breaks us becomes what makes us stronger." I looked right at Aaron when I said that. He froze. Everyone turned toward him. It wasn't a scene exactly, more of a silent reckoning. A few people knew the story already, had seen the posts, had put the pieces together. Aaron left quietly, face red, shoulders slumped. Later that night, I got a call from Marcus. "He's gone to stay with Mom for a bit," he said. "You really hurt him, Vic." "I just held up a mirror," I replied. For the first time, I didn't feel angry. I felt clean, empty in a good way. Update. So it's been 2 weeks since the gala. Aaron hasn't come by again. Gail sent a long message asking if I'd consider counseling before finalizing the divorce, but I didn't even reply. The papers are filed. Monica apparently moved to another city to start over. I've been reading your comments. Some of y'all really didn't hold back. A few said I went too far posting the evidence, that I should have just left quietly. Maybe, but you weren't there. You didn't hear the lies at 2 a.m., or smell another woman's perfume on the man you thought was your home. Others said the revenge was sweet but surgical. That's my favorite phrase, because that's exactly what it was. Not messy, not hysterical, just clean. Like excising something rotten. I don't regret a thing. But what I didn't expect, what I'm still figuring out, is how much of myself I lost trying to fix him. Because now that he's gone, I'm realizing the silence I used to dread might actually be the start of something better. The first week after filing felt like detox. Everything Aaron had touched still carried traces of him. his cologne clinging to the hallway rug, his protein powder smell seeping out of the cupboards. I spent an entire Saturday bleaching surfaces and blasting music just to reclaim the air. When I finally sat down, the house felt too quiet, like a theater after the audience has left. No phone buzzing, no fake apologies, no walking on glass, just me and the hum of the fridge. I thought I'd feel lonely, but what I actually felt was a kind of fragile peace, the kind you protect with both hands. Then, on Wednesday, the peace cracked. I came home from work and saw muddy footprints in the entryway. Heavy, size 11 sneakers, same brand he used to wear. My heart jumped into my throat. The restraining order was still pending review, not officially enforced yet. I checked the rooms, heart racing. Nothing was stolen, but the closet door was slightly open, and inside, on the top shelf, was something that hadn't been there before. A folded gym shirt and a photo. Our wedding photo. Torn in half, only my face showing. I don't remember sitting down, but I was on the floor before I realized it, shaking so hard I couldn't unlock my phone. I called Marcus. He answered on the third ring. "Marcus, I think Aaron broke in." There was silence, then a sigh. He said he just wanted to grab a few things. "You think leaving a shredded photo is grabbing things?" He muttered something about Aaron being in a bad place. That phrase made me want to scream. Aaron had turned our marriage into his bad place, and now he was dragging the wreckage everywhere else. Trish, my lawyer, moved fast. The restraining order was approved the next day. Police officers stopped by to take a report. I felt embarrassed, standing there while they wrote notes in neat block letters, nodding politely. "You did the right thing," one of them said. I wanted to believe him. That weekend I saw Aaron again, accidentally, or maybe not. I was grabbing groceries, and there he was in the parking lot, leaning against his car, eyes bloodshot. He looked thinner, weaker. For a split second, I almost didn't recognize him. He didn't move toward me, just called out, "You got what you wanted?" I froze. My body said run, but my pride said don't flinch. "I got free," I said, and kept walking. That night, though, I couldn't shake the image, the man who used to make me laugh until I cried, standing there like a hollow shell. It was haunting not because I missed him, but because I realized how completely he destroyed himself, trying to destroy me. A few days later, Gail texted. She wanted to pick up a few of Aaron's things from the house. I said fine, supervised. When she came, she looked older, worn out. She glanced at the empty living room and said softly, "I didn't raise him to be this." I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. When she left, I stood in the doorway, watching her car disappear down the street, and something in me clicked. That final internal gear of closure, the revenge, the rage, the wreckage, it had all served its purpose. The storm had burned itself out. The next morning, I deleted the fake account I'd used to expose them. I even unfollowed Monica. She'd gone quiet online, posting beach photos with captions about new beginnings. I didn't hate her anymore. I just didn't care. That's when I realized the sweetest revenge wasn't what I'd done to Aaron. It was what I'd taken from him, his control, his narrative, his ability to define me by the way he broke me. He wanted to ruin my peace. Instead, I found it. It's strange how quiet freedom sounds when it finally arrives. A month after everything, the exposure, the restraining order, the shredded photo, I found myself sitting on the back porch one evening, watching the sun slip down behind the neighbor's fence. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone to come home. No car engine idling, no footsteps in the hall, just air and light and the faint chirp of crickets. I remember thinking, this is what peace costs, and I paid it in full. The divorce finalized faster than I expected. Trish handled everything, every document, every ugly little detail. When she handed me the final decree, she said, "He signed without contest, probably too embarrassed to show up." That made me smile. Embarrassment was the least he deserved. Aaron moved out of town not long after. I didn't ask where. Marcus told me he'd picked up a warehouse job somewhere up north, trying to start over. Gail sent a card, one of those store-bought sympathy ones, the kind people send after funerals. Inside she'd written, "He's sorry for everything. I hope someday you can forgive him." I didn't reply. I wasn't angry anymore, but forgiveness felt like giving him another page in a book I'd already closed. I started reclaiming my life one small piece at a time. I joined a dance class on Wednesday nights. I planted herbs in the kitchen window. I stopped checking Monica's social media. She'd gone completely dark, probably out of shame or self-preservation. Either way, I didn't need her ghost haunting my phone anymore. The funny part? I kept training. Not with Monica's old methods. I found a new trainer, a woman named Claire, who didn't ask questions, just pushed me to lift heavier and breathe deeper. Somewhere between the reps and the sweat, I realized I wasn't trying to punish myself or outshine anyone. I was just rebuilding my body after it had carried too much sorrow for too long. One night after class, I came home and finally threw away Aaron's last leftover, that stupid gym watch. It had been sitting in a drawer for weeks, mocking me with its blinking green light. I dropped it in the trash, tied the bag tight, and took it straight to the curb. When I came back inside, I poured a glass of wine and stood in front of the mirror. I didn't look like the woman he'd betrayed, or even the one who'd orchestrated his downfall. I looked like someone new, stronger, still healing, but no longer defined by the damage. Sometimes I still get messages from people who followed the story online. A few strangers reached out saying they'd gone through the same kind of betrayal, thanking me for being brutally honest. I don't know if what I did was brave or just messy, but maybe those things overlap sometimes. And when I think back to Aaron, to his frantic eyes, his collapsing excuses, his storm of lies, there's no satisfaction left, just distance, just that strange, almost holy silence of a house finally free from someone else's chaos. Revenge didn't save me. It just cleared the wreckage so I could. I don't know what comes next. Maybe I'll move cities. Maybe I'll repaint the living room. Maybe I'll finally take that solo trip I used to dream about before everything went sideways. But for now, I'm here, sitting in my quiet home, candle burning low, the sound of my own breathing steady and sure, finally at peace.